Hello, everybody, and welcome to Blue Sunday. Can you hear it, Vince? Can you hear it?
It sounds like music to my ears, Joey.
Anyway,
Fourth week in
as
a row,
everyone
big win.
knows, yes, good win. I believe I'll just put it down back in the background. Put it down.
Yep.
So, everyone, my name is Joseph Luzza. I'm coming to you from Bangkok, Thailand, and as usual, joining me back in the studio in Melbourne, Australia, is my co-host, life member, no doubt, no less, sorry, and former president of the Carltonians, Mr. Vince Loccisano. Vince,
thank you, Joe.
How are you tonight?
I'm actually not that great. I'm actually a bit under the weather tonight, so if I happen to cough and splutter and sound a bit blocked up, I hope everyone will forgive me a bit because I think I got a bit run down and it's all taken a bit of a toll today. So hopefully it won't last too long. But certainly helps when you've had a big win like yesterday, and we can all celebrate our fourth victory in succession. And Joe, assuming that we can get over West Coast next week, where of course you shouldn't take your opposition lightly, but if we get over them, which we would be expected to, we will be in the 8 next week because the Western Bulldogs and Essendon play each other, and so therefore one of them is going to drop out of the 8.
Well,
so how good's that? We're actually going to be in the 8.
Dare to dream, people. Dare to dream. I'll leave that song going. It'll finish in a minute, and then we'll go from there.
Dare to dream, exactly. And that might be a good caption for an Omen Bet of the Week a little bit later on in the show, Joe.
Well, you never know. Well, hang on. It's going to keep playing, that song, so I better stop it.
Yep.
Mind you, I could listen to it throughout the whole show, to be honest. But anyway.
I think it'll get a little bit repetitive after 3 or 4 times. But anyway,
Vince,
it was a big
let me do some formalities and then we'll come back to it. So, as you know, this is a Facebook, YouTube show, and we're brought to you by the Jumper Punch. So we're going to have a quick review of the other games, and then we'll have a very strong emphasis and look at our beloved Carlton. So don't forget, our show relies on you people. So don't forget to like and subscribe. On Facebook, we're at Blue Sunday. And on YouTube, you will see us at The Jumper Punch. So don't forget, like and subscribe. And we also would like you to take part in the show. There's some people already putting up some comments. But look,
we especially want everyone's involvement today because we have one of our regular panelists that's what? You don't want me to say anything? Okay, righto.
Not yet.
Righto.
Okay. Melodies. So Vince has well, you may as well go on. You've spilt the beans.
Oh, no, sorry. I didn't realise it was such a secret.
Well, if you had read the run sheet, Vince, if you had read the run sheet, you don't know. But anyway, what Vince is alluding to is, unfortunately, this week, Peter Brown has been managed. The old fella, he needed a rest. He was getting waking up with too many bumps and bruises. So no, he's gone away or something, hasn't he, Vince? He's gone on a holiday or he's gone away with his lovely wife.
To be honest, I'm not really sure. I thought it might have been a business-related commitment that he had tonight. So look, whether it's business or personal or whatever it might be, we'll miss him this week, but we'll certainly get him back next week.
We certainly will.
And what I was going to say was that's why we want all of our listeners and viewers to give us their comments and their feedback more than ever, because this will be a big opportunity for all of you to really have your say about the Blues and where we're going and where we're at.
Yeah, and guys, I will get to your comments. Just let me get to all the formalities, and then we'll just quickly do the other games, and then we'll get to it.
Yeah.
Also, just a quick reminder that Blue Sunday is proudly sponsored by my company, Retired Working for You in Thailand. So if anyone is planning on a trip to Thailand, please give me a bell. You'll see the website there. It's got my email address on there. Even if you just want some tips, I'm more than happy to help everybody. So anyway, so Vince, as you know, we normally go through the games, but I thought we'd
Yep.
add a little bit of humour first. So the first thing I
Okay.
want to show you is I found this quite funny. I found this on Instagram, and it's called AFL memes, and it was obviously put up by a Carlton supporter, and he's saying, "I would like all Carlton supporters to complete this and send it to the club. Apology
Right.
form." So to the
Okay.
Carlton Football Club, so they want you to put your name and your date, reason for your behaviour. So they'd like you to tick one or more of the boxes. So the reasons for your antisocial behaviour. The media convinced me the baggers were done. I didn't want to admit Charlie wins the Coleman. I was jealous of Cripper. I didn't watch the actual game. I didn't know how good Walshy was. And Mercury was in retrograde. And I hereby respect baggers as a premiership chance and never doubt them again. So you can get that form off Instagram, send it to the club. I'm sure they'd be extremely happy to see them.
Yes, they usually do those feedback forms once a year, don't they? Where they ask you about 185,000 questions, and you just wonder whether you've gone to all this trouble to fill it out and what happens with it.
Yeah. I'll leave my funny photo of the week till later on. So
Okay.
let's get on to the game so then we can talk about our beloved Carlton. So, Vince,
Yep.
It all started with a crackerjack game on Thursday night.
It did indeed. This was a really good game. I watched this, and it was probably a fitting result, seeing it was John Longmire's 300th game as the coach of the Sydney Swans. And the players you could just tell they were just willing that result. The doggies did get their noses in front a few times during the game, but Sydney Swans boys never gave up on it and eventually got over the line. So it was a great win. 11 goals, 12-78 to the Bulldogs, 11-10. 76, and that's now quite a few losses now for the Bulldogs, and another game against Essendon next week where they're not assured of beating them. So their chances of making the 8 are teetering at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So then on Friday night, an even better game.
Indeed, this was a huge result. I mean, with 7 or 8 minutes to go in the last quarter. On the clock, I think Melbourne were still 25 or 26 points behind and ended up kicking the last 27 points of the game and won by a point. So just unbelievable how the Brisbane Lions let that one slip, but a huge win for Melbourne. That is a real season definer, that result, and that now really cements their spot in the top 4.
Okay, let's go to Saturday. I was listening to this game on the radio.
Oh, by the way, I should have given you the score of that game. Shouldn't I?
Oh, that's okay.
16-9, 105 to Brisbane, 16-8, 104.
That's okay. And then this game, Collingwood just blew it apart in the second quarter, kicking 10 goals to none.
It's one of those games where Collingwood just did what they had to do. They got a decent lead up in the second quarter, and then they pretty much went half pace after that. I think they only scored 2 goals in the third and 2 goals in the last. In fact, I think Fremantle might have even outscored them in the second half. But that second quarter, 10 goals won to only 2 goals won. So they outscored them by 8 goals and put the game beyond doubt. So Collingwood, yet again, 18 goals, 5, 113. Great kicking for goal to Fremantle, 10-7, 67. And they now find themselves in the bottom 4 on the ladder. And I think we saw a coach get sacked during the week, Stuart Dewitt, Gold Coast. I reckon there might be some vultures flying around over there at the Fremantle Dockers as well for Justin Longmuir's position.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, the next game. You knew this was going to happen.
Wow.
You knew this was going to happen.
It's pretty predictable, isn't it? It happens all the time. Sack your coach and the team all of a sudden decides it's going to play. Yeah. The Gold Coast Suns, 11-11, 77 to St Kilda, who are a bit like the Doggies, just losing more games than they're winning at the moment. And their position in the 8's also under threat. 8-3, 51, only 11 scoring shots.
Yeah.
They are they're just walking into the 8, but they might actually miss out in the end.
Now, this game was a real shock. I turned the TV on and then I turned it off. Geelong was 7 goals up. I thought, geez.
In the first
Essendon
quarter,
must have still been stuck on the freeway.
in the first quarter, I think it was in the first 10 or 15 minutes, and Geelong was like, 6 goals up, and you just knew that the game was over. In fact, I think at quarter time it was 7-5, 47, 12 scoring shots. But I think that's the third best first quarter result that Geelong's ever had against Essendon. And the Bombers only scored the one solitary point, and it was game over, basically.
Yeah.
So the final score, 18-14, 122 to the reigning premiers, and Essendon had a shocker, 7 goals, 3, 45. That should be 7-3, 45, Joe.
No, well, I get. Have a look where it comes from. Fox Footy.
Oh, does it?
It's 7.
Oh.
That's so.
Okay. Well, I'm getting 7-3, 45 on mine, so that'll be interesting.
You better. I don't know what's happened at Fox Footy, but
we'll better double check that.
Well,
anyway,
I can only get what's on the
That's
on
fine.
the app.
I don't think it'll matter that much. The next game was a real shock to me. I thought Adelaide had GWS's measure for most of this game. They had a good 3-goal lead through most of the middle part of the game. But in the end, GWS, they have really turned things around under coach, trying to think of his name, Adam Kingsley. And, they got over the line in Rory Sloane's 250th game. They couldn't pull it off for him. So in the end, GWS 10-11-71 to Adelaide 8-9-57. It's not often that they get beaten at home, and their chances now are teetering as well. So a lot of teams have got very questionable form going into the last half a dozen matches.
Serves good for us. Next game?
Well, it's today, of course. It was a big game at Marvel Stadium between two of the cellar dwellers, North Melbourne. Well, what can you say about North Melbourne? It's just it's getting beyond the joke now. How many is that in a row now that they've lost? I think it's 15.
Something like that.
6-4, 40. Not many scoring shots for goal, only 10. And Hawthorn probably could have won by more, 12-16, 88. An 8-goal win to the Hawks.
Yeah.
Probably should have been 12.
Some easy shots. Missed some easy shots.
Yeah.
The game that just finished, Vince?
Yep, this is the final game of the round. The Tigers went over there and did what they had to do. It wasn't a smashing like some people might have expected, but they certainly did win comfortably. 14-14, 98 to the West Coast Eagles, 8-12, 60, and they also have only won the one match earlier this year. And guess who they won that game against, Joe?
North Melbourne.
No.
Who?
GWS.
Oh, did they? I thought they beat
Who would have thought?
Melbourne.
Who would have thought that it was GWS? Yeah, earlier in the year, but GWS have certainly found their form since then. So, anyway, that's the results of all the games, apart from the Carlton game, of course.
I was going to say, and the one that we're all interested in.
Exactly right. And what a game it was! I think we could all tell early on that we were on. Couldn't you tell that?
Yeah.
Did you think straight away we're on here? I did. I thought we have come to play. Yeah.
When Jack Silvani kicked those 2 goals, I thought we're in.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I thought I actually tipped Port Adelaide, and as I said to you before the show, if I'd have known that there was going to be all those changes, I probably would have changed my my tip. But that's
what were the changes that made a big difference to you in their side?
Charlie Dixon kills us every week.
Okay,
right?
So he was out. Yeah.
And
Horn
Francis. Horn Francis, I thought he might sort of nullify either Cripper or Walsh, because he's been one of their main ball getters.
Yep.
And just the quality of the other players. Quinton Narkle has been,
they dropped him,
troublesome. He's been good for a couple of goals. It was funny. Jesse Motlop did what he normally does. So anyway.
Well, in the end, it was a comprehensive win. In fact, we should have had an even greater lead, in my opinion, at quarter time, where we kicked 3 goals, 6-24 to Port Adelaide's 2-2-14. So he went into quarter time with a 10-point lead. Then we absolutely smashed them and got a big lead in that second quarter. We kicked 6 goals 2 to only 2 goals 5. And that's the quarter, in my opinion, that really made the biggest difference. And, of course, we ran away with it in the end as well. So, in the end, it was 18-14, 122 to Port Adelaide's 10-12, 72. That's a 50-point drubbing. And, by the way, Joe, in the last 4 games, we have kicked 18 goals, 17 goals, 14 goals last week, and 18 goals again. Where did all this come from?
I don't know.
We were kicking 6s and 7s and 8s for most of the weeks before
but we were
that.
kicking 18 points. And Vince, Grant makes a good point. I mean, we lost Harry McKay in the first 10, 15 minutes.
Yes.
So,
and it didn't seem to affect our forward line in any major
I actually
negative
thought
way.
our forward line functioned a little bit better. I think it put a little bit more pressure on Jack Martin.
Yes.
And Jack Silvani really stood up. So I know Lana's a big fan of his, and I thought Jack showed us on yesterday or Saturday,
what he's made
yesterday,
of.
that he's not going anywhere, and nor he should. No. The only reason he'd go is if he wants to go join Dad, or if Carlton don't come to the party with a decent contract.
Do you think that's his role, though? Do you think that's his role, playing high half forward, taking marks like that and kicking goals?
Yeah.
Is that his best position?
I actually think he likes being in the ruck. Not that he's a good ruckman, but, I mean, it hasn't really affected us in the last 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe, but I think Jack's big problem, and I think he'll be the first to agree, is that this season he's been a little bit inconsistent, and just in the last 3 or 4 weeks he's shown a bit of consistency. And I'm not saying consistent where he has to be best on the ground, right?
Yeah.
But I listened to Michael Voss's presser just before we came on air over a cup of coffee, and he was right. Everyone's got a role to play, and everyone's played it. And Jack, I think, he was talking about Jack, and he said, well, Jack and Lewis never really complain about playing in the ruck, even though they're not ruckmen. But
they knew that they were needed to fulfill a role, and they didn't shirk the issue, and they didn't complain. They just went on and took it on and gave it their best shot.
Yeah, Sandra makes a good point here. Jack is an in-between player. He's not tall enough to be a key forward, and he's not fast enough to be sort of like your small forward.
A small forward.
Yeah, but he does have good football brain, right? And one thing from him is that he will never give in, right?
No, that's true.
If you look at him, he's got his hands.
You'll always get effort, won't you?
Yeah, that's because he gives the effort. So, to all those people that want him gone, just settle down. He's not going to be your best on ground every week, but he'll be the best contributor, right? And Vossi even said that Jack said to him after the game, I actually enjoyed my little time down in defence. So, about the only place I don't think you'd want to play Jack is on the wing. So I don't think he's quick enough. But, in the middle, up forward, down back, you're going to get it. I mean, you could play him on the wing. He's not fast enough, but anyway.
True.
Vince,
I'll just quickly go through the goal kickers for the game, if you like.
If you want.
Carlton's goal kickers were Silvani with 4. Motlop, that was a last-minute inclusion for Owies. Didn't he take his opportunity by the scruff of the neck? 4 goals to Motlop as well. Charlie Curnow kicked 3 goals, 3. And Cottrell kicked 2 goals as well. Singles to Cripps. I'm just trying to get my list over here. Sorry about that. Yeah, Cripps got 1. Fogarty got 1. Martin.
Newman got 1. And
Cunningham and Newman. So, yes. Yeah. So, that again, a really good spread of goal kickers. I'm sure Brownie would have been happy to have seen that as well, so that we're not just relying on the tall timber. And, of course, Harry went off with that knee injury. So, Charlie kicked 3 out of 18.
Not bad.
How many other goal scorers were there? It was fantastic to see Silvani and Motlop get 4 each, and and other players get amongst the goals as well.
Okay, so here's the ladder, the top 8, Vince.
Yep. Well, as you can see there, you've got Collingwood on top now, 1 game clear with Port Adelaide's loss, and a very healthy percentage to Collingwood. So, geez, they'd have to do something dramatically wrong not to finish on top of the ladder, or at least the top 2. Port Adelaide now, having dropped that game, they're probably fortunate that Brisbane also dropped the game. So there's still remaining 2 games clear of Brisbane. But now there's only 1 game from Brisbane to Melbourne. And Melbourne have cemented their spot at the moment. They're 6 points clear of Geelong, which is effectively like having 2 wins clear of Geelong, really. Then you've got these teams that have, I guess, mixed their form a bit of late. St Kilda, the Western Bulldogs, and Essendon, all 3 of those teams lost on the weekend. Okay. So when you look at Port Adelaide and Brisbane and those 3, 5 out of the top 8 lost their games.
Lost. Good.
Is it any wonder why our footy tipping's all over the place? Now this is the real smoky, Joe. GWS, they're just outside the 8 on percentage. And they're almost up to the 100% now. They've made up a lot of ground. Carlton is now half a game away from GWS. And as I said, with the Western Bulldogs and Essendon playing next week, and assuming we beat West Coast, we will jump into the 8, I think. You'll find?
Yeah, I think Adelaide Crows may have a chance, but I haven't looked at all the other games.
No, but they're behind us. Honest, if we win, how can Adelaide Crows catch up to us?
Well, what about Richmond?
Well, they're over 11 or 12% behind us in percentage.
Yeah, but if they win and we lose, they jump.
No, we're not going to lose to West Coast. I'm assuming we're going to beat West Coast.
I'm not looking at whether we're going to finish in the 8. All I want to do is just win every week, right?
Yes, I know. So, all right. Well, anyway, let's see.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yep. So then you've got Adelaide, Gold Coast. They're both on 8 wins. Isn't it amazing? Adelaide drops that game to GWS at home, and all of a sudden, instead of being rock solid in the 8, they're now down to 12th position. That's how quickly you can drop down the ladder when you have a surprise loss. Gold Coast had a good win, so they rose. Sydney Swans had a win. They rose as well. And Fremantle dropped after dropping that game to Collingwood. Hawthorn had a good win over North Melbourne today, so they go up from 16 points up to 20. They've got 5 wins on the board now. And those last 2 teams, what can you say? Bring on next year, eh? 2 wins to North Melbourne, one win to West Coast.
I'd just like to thank this Adam Huzzer, the guy with the glasses is a goose. Thanks, mate, at all times. I don't know why, but you're more than, if you want to come and take over the show, you're more than welcome to do it because you obviously know everything. Okay, so Vince, normally at this time we introduce Peter Brown, who gives us
Correct.
an overview of the game, but unfortunately Peter can't join us.
Yep.
We did have people lined up to take his spot.
Yes, we did.
And everyone's fallen over at the last hurdle. So unfortunately,
yes,
you're all just stuck with me and Vince today.
That's right. But what we would rather do is to get everyone else's views on the game and the side and the players, and tell us what you think. It doesn't matter what it is. We'd love to hear from you tonight.
Even if you do think I'm a goose, I'm big enough to take it. Maybe I should send you the link, Adam, and you can come on and you can run the show. Vince, let's just quickly look at our stats.
Yes.
If you want to go through them.
Yep. Well, as you can see there, you've got Carlton dominated the game in most areas. Funnily enough, in disposals, they actually just got over a little bit more than us. I think probably in that last quarter they started sharing it around a bit more. We had more kicks. They had more hand passes. I don't think it made all that much difference. They had more inside 50s, and the disposal efficiency was pretty similar in the low 70s.
Yeah.
Next one.
Let's
go through them. Possessions, again, contested possessions, pretty much the same. Uncontested possessions is where they had a few more than us. Turnovers, we had less turnovers than them. They turned the ball over a lot yesterday.
Yeah, they did. Here's where we dominated.
Marks, we took some good marks yesterday. Marks inside 50, we had a few more. Contested marks, we certainly had some more. And intercepts, we had more intercept marks as well. So we really did control the ground. What impressed me more than anything else was the use of the corridor. The amount of times that our players redirected that ball into the centre corridor was incredible. And I was just so impressed with how they did that. And, I think they've found their mojo. What else can you say, Joe? I mean, the last 4 weeks, they really have turned it on. And the opposition have not had any response, any answers to combat that. So I think, if we can keep channeling into that style of play, we're going to go a long way between now and the end of the season.
We will. There's one more, and that's it, Vince.
Oh, we've got defence, of course, tackles. We had couple more tackles in defence. They had tackles inside 50, a couple more than us. It was pretty even, really, from a statistical point of view.
Yeah.
And we had a few more bounces, free kicks, a little bit more in our favour.
We're a bit more
efficiency inside 50,
goal.
Definitely. Yeah. And look, there was a player that they had playing. I don't think he's played that many games. In fact, I had to laugh because his initials O for Ollie, and so when you call his name, it's O Lord. Oh Lord.
Yeah, oh Lord.
Yeah.
Gee, he couldn't kick, could he?
He couldn't kick. I don't know what was wrong with him, but I mean, he cost them at least a couple of goals just by shanking his kicks for goal on more than one occasion. So he's got to get that right. Otherwise, it really is deflating for the midfielders up the ground who work their backsides off to give you scoring opportunities. And if you're going to go and blow them like that, it's just unacceptable in my view.
Yeah. Lou, you're a genius. I told you we were going to pump them by 10 goals, and you thought I was smoking those funny shit. Lou, towards the end of the show, mate, I want you to give your prediction because I'm going to bet whatever you say. I think you're the oracle. That's what we'll call you on this show.
No, you did right. You did well there, Lou. I've got to hand it to him. He did predict that result, so well done.
Now, since we don't have Peter Brown on, and I'm going to go through a lot of the comments. So let me just go through some of them. I'm getting a lot of love for Jack Silvani. So
yes,
I think he played really well.
Oh,
personally.
No doubt.
I thought
that's one of the best games he's ever played for the club. No doubt.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that it's one of the best games he's played.
Yeah.
One guy I want to talk about is Newman.
Oh, yes.
Jerry. I thought Newman played a great game too yesterday. He was. He attacked the ball. He's not one of the flashiest players.
No.
But what are your thoughts on Newman, Vince?
I thought he played a great game, and he's proven to become a very serviceable backman, very reliable, dependable backman in our defence ever since he came across from the Sydney Swans. And I like Newman. I think he's still got at least another couple of years with our side.
Yeah. Dynamic, hypnotic. It's tough because up until a month ago, we'd been playing a brand of footy that wasn't particularly complementary to any of our players. Pretty true.
That's true. That is true.
I think our skill levels picked up a little bit too, to be honest. We're hitting targets.
Yes.
We're using the corridor more.
Yep. Well, I think people that now attack other supporters saying, "Oh, see, you were all negative Nancy's and you're all, bagging our club, and now look at them. Where are you now? You're all silent and all that." I don't think that's necessary, because when people were criticising our players in our club, they were playing poorly. They were playing terribly, in fact.
Yeah.
They'd lost 6 in a row and 8 out of 9. So, you can only judge it as you see it. And at that time, we were playing very substandard football. I don't know what's happened. Something's clicked. But all of a sudden, the last 4 weeks, you got to hand it to them. They've really impressed me, that's for sure.
Yeah. Now, we've been speaking with Peter a lot in the last few weeks about our rucks. And yesterday, we brought in Tom de Koning. And Darren Thomas says we played better without Pitto. Jack, and I'm assuming he's saying either Jack or Youngie as the second ruck and TDK.
Right.
Well, I thought TDK played a really good game yesterday.
Yep,
For
I agree
someone
with
who's
that.
been out a bit, and for someone who allegedly wants to leave the club, I thought he toiled all day. You know, he was in the ruck. Lycett's a big, strong, experienced ruckman. You know, and
Premiership
TDK,
ruckman with West Coast.
yeah, and TDK is still learning the craft. I thought he held his own. You know, and did enough around the ground. Some of his second efforts, you know, in his tackles, I thought he
I
played
agree with
really
that.
well. Yeah,
Agree
you
with
agree?
that. He had more hit-outs than Lysett in the end. He had 33, Lysett had 28, and Silvani had 10, and Finlayson had 4. So
Yeah,
we actually got the majority of the hit-outs, and probably hit-outs to advantage as well.
and Petra's quite right. The Tigers won a flag with Sean Grigg in the ruck, and he was a defender with us. So anyway, what do you think about Motlop? Last minute selection. Lucky he didn't eat that last pie.
Well, I'm not sure what was wrong with Owies. Do you know what was wrong with Owies?
Yeah, he had during the run throughs. Apparently, he complained of calf tightness.
Okay.
And he told the head, you know, I think he told Andrew Russell, who's out in the ground, and they didn't want to risk it, so they thought, no, you better come out.
So
that's
put
why
Motlop
they had
in.
him. Yeah.
But, interesting. Didn't Motlop take his opportunity? He played very well. I thought he played a great little game.
I overwent a comment before where it said that he died out in the second half, which I think he did, but I think he was smart in the first half. He showed that you just stay at Charlie's feet. You know, Vin Katoggio's told us this. Peter Brown's told us this. If you're a small forward, you need to be running hard at the feet of the pack. So,
my word.
But he did his job. He did his job. One person that I want to spend a little bit of time on is Paddy Dow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, as we all know, Paddy Dow's been tearing it up in the twos. Okay.
Yep.
And then, you know, he was never getting a chance in the seniors. And now I know why, because he is an inside mid, and you've got Patrick Cripps and you had Matt Kennedy. So you can't have 3 inside mids. And probably Walsh, you could call him an inside outside. He can play
George Hewitt.
role.
George Hewitt as well.
Yeah, but George Hewitt's been out a bit, and he was the sub yesterday. I thought Paddy
But what I'm
Dow,
saying is that's the pecking order.
Yeah.
And Dow's like a distant 6th in the pecking order.
I thought Paddy Dow showed a bit yesterday, but his disposal sometimes lets him down in the seniors.
I kept a close eye on him, and that's the area of the game that lets him down. He had a few kicks where he kicked it over the top of the Carlton player who was leading towards him, and the kick went right over his head, you know, but not by a short distance, by quite a long way. This is the area of the game where, you know, you can't underestimate the difference in pace between the reserves or VFL level and AFL level. I mean, you talk to players all the time, and they say that the gap between the standard of play in each of those competitions is huge.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find
excuse me,
comment here it is from Dynamic Hypnotic. How are you tonight, Dynamic? Sard still doesn't look right, and I agree with that. I think
why? What's wrong with Sard?
Well, I thought he used his pace when he needed to, but he sort of hobbled a bit. And Sandra's right; she's put Sass, but it was Sard. He was grabbing every time he went off. He was holding his.
Well, he might have been a bit injured then.
Well, that's what we're just saying, Vince.
Yeah,
he doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't agree with playing injured players. That's what I'm saying. I don't know why you'd play him if he's not right. Why would you play him?
Well, maybe they thought it was something that it could that he could manage during the game, and it wasn't going to hamper him too much. These are the sorts of calls that, you know, the player has to make together with the high performance people and, you know, the doctors, etc., etc. So sooner or later, there needs to be a decision arrived at, and they obviously arrived at a decision to let him play.
Yeah, Sandra says, who can replace Sard? I suppose we'd have to go back to Lockie Cowan. Even George Hewitt may go back. Not sure. But I don't. To be honest, I'm not fully au fait with all the reserves players because I don't get to watch it. We don't get to see it.
I reckon if you lost Sard out of that back line, you'd probably put Doherty back there.
Probably. One guy that is new to the club that I thought has been a welcome, but sometimes again he lets himself down with some of his disposal. Blake Acres.
Yeah,
I think he's a good player. He puts in and
no doubt. He's been a good player. He's been a good acquisition.
Look, it's easy. It's easy to sit here and say, "Oh, you should do this and you shouldn't do that." We all act differently under pressure. So we'll get there.
Well, he had 24 possessions and took 8 marks. You know, some of his disposals, lack accuracy. But he probably wouldn't be the only one. I think he's been a better player on that wing for us than previous players have been. I think
this is a pretty true comment.
We'd give him a tick on this year's performance.
Sorry, this is true. Akers shouldn't kick a goal; he sprays it.
Well, maybe, yeah,
he does. And DC's right; he is our best wingman. Not coming up. Why not? Thank you. What is wrong with this?
What are you looking for?
This the system's playing up. Right. If Akers gets his kicking right, he'll be okay. Better game by Blake, less mistakes than usual.
Well, he had a total disposal efficiency of 66%, which is 16 out of those 24 disposals. So, the good thing about him is he gets a good proportion of kicks versus hand passes, 17 kicks and 7 hand passes. He had 4 score involvements, 1 goal assist, 2 marks inside 50, 2 contested marks. I think he had a pretty good game. He took a total of 8 marks for the game. It's the clangers, you see. It's those 6 clangers that he had. They're the ones that people sort of mark him down. They mark him down because of that.
Here's a comment for our good mate Rob Galicio. He's still better than Jack Newnes.
No doubt. I'm sure you agree with that one.
I do.
That's Peter V. That's Peter V. Bluebagger, not Rob Galicio.
No, but I said Rob would agree with this comment.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. Yep.
Sandra says that she thinks, is that Cesar? Does she mean Chera?
Chera.
Cesar was amazing. I think that's who she's talking about. I actually thought Chera was very quiet yesterday.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Did you think he had a quiet game? 17 possessions. He only had 3 kicks. He only had 3 kicks. He had 14 hand passes. He laid 6 tackles. I don't think it was his best game. He certainly wouldn't have been in the votes, and he certainly wouldn't be getting any Brownlow votes, I don't think. Okay,
here's something new. That's his nickname, Cesar. Okay? Well, there's something that you learn every day. Vince, it's come to my notice that Jordan Boyd has been referred straight to the tribunal with a dangerous sling tackle. I didn't think it was dangerous. If Boyd gets 3 weeks, the game has become a disgrace. Well, this is the problem because I saw God, I hate that Razor Ray Chamberlain. He gave a free kick. I didn't even think it was – I don't know if that was the one that it was, but he gave the free kick for the dangerous tackle. Even all the players were shocked. I just don't get this. I don't know how you're supposed to – Boyd had his – it was Boyd. Boyd had his head behind the player. How do you know when the player gets rid of the ball?
I think they're putting more and more onus on the tackler to get it right and to not continue with the tackle to the point where the head hits the ground or anything like that. And if they do, they're going to come down really hard on whether it's intentional, not intentional, or what it is. They're just going to come down really hard on them because they want to eradicate all of these concussions, Joe.
Yeah.
And Jimmy that's the only way they think they can do it.
Jimmy says you get a week. The Oracle, Blue, says he should get off.
Don't forget, Jimmy, this is a Carlton player here, and all of the Carlton players always get off at the tribunal, and we've got all the best lawyers that get our Brownlow
someone wrote that.
Yeah.
Someone wrote that.
Chris Judd, if you remember, Chris Judd won a Brownlow medal in the year that he was meant to get suspended and got off. And then Patrick Cripps did exactly the same thing against Brisbane, where he laid a bump and he got let off that charge as well, and ended up winning the Brownlow medal.
Comment, but someone did say the Carlton lawyers do get them off.
Yeah, they do.
That's good. Grant, Alex says that Dow looked more comfortable yesterday with 4 clearances. Yeah, I thought he looked okay, Patrick Dow. Again, just I don't know if it's because of the lack of time in the seniors, but he just needs to tidy up some of his possession because he does all the hard work.
I think if he played regularly, if they gave him a run of, say, 4 games, he might actually then start picking up the pace of the game at AFL level because he's played very little AFL football in the last 2 years.
Well, he does all the hard work. I mean, he gets the ball. He certainly knows how to find the ball.
That's for sure.
Pete from the Voodoo Room, an excellent all-round team effort.
Yeah.
I think that should be Cripps, but he's put Crisp. So, I guess that happened.
Played a good game, our captain.
Nazi, I hope that's how I say it, Nazir or Nazi. Yeah. Our mids got beaten yesterday, 62 inside 50s. Yeah, I don't know. I agree with Wayne, Razor Ray, worst umpire ever.
You got to remember too, Joe, it's one thing to get inside 50s. It's another thing as to what quality of delivery the ball is coming in. If the ball's laced out in front of the full forward and centre half forward, you're going to get a good return on investment. But you can have 62 inside 50s. But if the ball's coming in, like chaos ball after chaos ball, well then you're not going to make too many scoring shots out of that, are you?
No. Shane says the Port player threw his head back into the turf to draw the free kick. That duty of care should also be in part the Port's part. Actually, that's not a bad summation, Shane. I might look at that later on again. We're not allowed to show it because it's against AFL copyright. But I might look at it, and I recommend people maybe that's the defence that the players the club's going to use.
Yep.
This guy, unsung hero, Sammy Walsh. God, he's a good player.
Yeah.
He's a
can we just talk a little bit about Harry Mackay? Went down with a knee injury. I guess we're all waiting with bated breath to see the extent of this injury. Do you think it's going to be an ACL where he's out for 12 months, or do you think it'll be a bit less serious than
that? Hang on. Petra says, hopefully no major structural change to Harry's knee.
Damage.
My nephew, his father-in-law is best friends with, what's that guy that used what's his name? The guy that used to be on Triple N, that Dr. Peter or whatever.
Peter Larkins.
Yep. And I was talking to my nephew this morning, and he said Peter Larkins said it. He hasn't seen him. He said it certainly doesn't look like an ACL injury because he said he was hobbling, and he goes, with ACLs you don't normally hobble till a day or two later. He tends to think that. I don't know if people remember, but last year Harry hurt his meniscus.
Yes.
And he says that it looks like that he's probably re-injured the meniscus, and it's at worst 6 weeks. At worst.
So maybe back in time for the finals if we make it.
But again, you've got to wait for scans to confirm it. So let's see what happens. Yeah, this is Shane's right. Sounds like it's the same injury that he had last year.
Yeah.
Harry missed 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. Well, we wish him all the best, and hopefully he can make a speedy recovery. And with any luck, we'll win enough games to make the finals, and he can play a big part in that.
Darren makes a good point here. I think Kemp has been outstanding this year. I think, his first year he came, he was all hyped up as this big defender, and I mean, he was injured, and then it's taken him a couple of years, but gee, he takes some good marks. He's a bloody good intercept mark. Put it this way, I would pick Kemp ahead of Mitch McGovern any day. But I think Mitch in the last couple of weeks has actually
He's
done
been all right.
I actually saw on the website that he is injured again.
Who is?
Mitch McGovern.
Yeah. What's he got this time?
I don't know. On the AFL
we were actually
app,
wondering whether he was going to play yesterday because of that cork thigh that he got last week.
Well, on the AFL app, if you look under players, it says that McGovern was subbed out and Chera was subbed out. So I don't know how you can sub two players out, but it's got it next to it. If you look on the app, it says out and out. So I think Mitch. I saw Mitch hobbling there at one stage. This is good. Cincotta, hard man of football. He is very direct. He's a mature age recruit, isn't he? He's not.
Yeah, well, he's about 26. He's about 26 years of age, so he's very much developed into a man, and he's playing some really good straight ahead football and giving us some real grunt down there in that back line. I like the way Cincotta plays, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people like it too. I think what's turned Carlton around is some of the inclusions in recent weeks. And I'm talking about, for example, other than Harry and Charlie, I'm talking about the Lockie Fogartys, the David Cunninghams, these sorts of guys coming into the side and providing some real variety and actually, just a fresh, vibrant feel about the forward line all of a sudden. Jack Martin's come in and played a vital role as well. So maybe just a few players that weren't really performing have finally made their way out of the side, and we've given these other guys a bit of a go, and they've turned it around for us.
Yeah, no, Lana, I agree with you. I'm not saying McGovern hasn't been bad, but I'm just saying, he's been there for 5 years. He owes us when you think about it. He's on big money.
Well, the other thing is the back line. I think you're right. Kemp, the addition of Kemp into the back line compared to earlier this year, that served us very, very well. Cincotta. And Boyd, of course, came back after injury around about halfway through the season. So, again, another two or three guys that have made a bit of a difference in defence as well.
And I agree with Dynamic Hypnotic. They were a good band, the Dynamic Hypnotics. I agree, but I think Cripps has really stepped up and led by example. He showed a level of effort that's needed from captain. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Shane asks a question which maybe we can discuss now. Do we become more dangerous in the forward 50 without Harry and having a high-pressure forward line of Fogarty, Jesus, Martin and Cunners? Well, we did yesterday.
Yeah. They certainly added some variety. I think they realised that with Harry out, a lot was going to fall on their shoulders, and they all stepped up to the plate. And you got to hand it to them. They didn't shirk the issue, and they provided a lot of variety in that forward line.
Gee, I hope this is true. Cincotta equals Dean Rice. I loved Dean Rice.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Dean Rice, but he's certainly a hard, direct at it footballer, and I guess Dean Rice was renowned for that too, wasn't he?
Yeah. Sammy here is right. We will miss Harry taking those big marks up the ground. But you saw Charlie taking a few of them yesterday. The trouble is, then he's like, who do I kick it to? Lucky he had Cunners and Fogarty running sort of hard.
Yeah. I love the way Charlie marks the ball up the ground and then wheels around onto that right foot and sort of kicks it from right to left, if you know what I mean, around his body. And, he can kick the ball a long way when he's even up around the centre of the ground.
Yeah. The half, I'll put that up. We'll miss Harry. So, to all those people that wanted Voss out, what do we say? Are they all?
Well, I think most people are now saying, "Well, geez, how can you kick him out when we've just won 4 games by 8, 9, and 10 goals?" I think yesterday was just over 8 goals. Previous week was just on 9 goals, and the previous 2 weeks were about 10 goals. So, it's pretty good going.
And so I'm just put Jimmy R up there. Best to have 4 to 5 small forwards flooding up the forward line. Yeah, I agree. And Darren, this is one that that Peter Brown would be very happy with. Wiedering playing well. He's a good player. I don't know what was wrong with him earlier in the year, but Wiedering is back to his All Australian form, I think.
I think Wiedering's been pretty much a barometer for us. When you think about last year, even Joe, when we were firing on all cylinders and we'd won 8 out of our first 10 games, Wiedering was regarded as a lock-in for the All Australian side. He was playing that well in defence. Then he got injured, and he was never the same. When he came back, he just wasn't the same player, and neither was our team. We only won, 4 out of the last 12 games of last year. Then we start this season. Again, patchy. Wiedering was patchy. Now that he's found form, now we've won four games in a row, and Wiedering's all of a sudden playing at the top of his game again. So I think he is the barometer for that side, and if he's playing well, we've got a big chance of winning.
Okay. Here's a fact for us. Sammy D, I think you've left out an M, but first time in the club's history that we've won 4 in a row by 50 or more points, which is fantastic.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is good.
Dynamic, hypnotic. I thought we'd be close for a couple of weeks before the first win. Do you know, if you look at the games that we lost, we didn't lose by much in a few of them. We're in all of them, to be honest.
Yeah. But when the pressure came on and the time came to grab the game by the scruff of the neck, we were missing. We went missing and we capitulated. Whether it's Essendon, whether it's Collingwood, whether it's, the Sydney Swans game, the Melbourne game, when the moment of truth came during those matches where who was going to take the game by the scruff of the neck, we went missing.
Yeah.
So anyway, hopefully we've turned the corner.
We have. So guys, is there any more that you want to talk about the game, Vince, or do you think we've talked enough about?
Well, unless you want to talk about individual players and individual contests, what about the coaching, Joe? Did you think Michael Voss had the better of Ken Hinkley, or was it just a case of Ken Hinkley had too many changes to that side? When I heard that he had 7 changes, I thought, you know what? There's not too many sides that make 7 changes to their team compared to the previous week and come out and win. I'd say that would be a rarity. And as soon as I thought 7 changes, that's a third of the team. That's 1/3 of the side. I thought, geez, that's a big ask.
I don't think much about the coaching. I think the sides were a little bit unsettled, to be honest. And I realistically, let's face it, if Charlie Dixon and the 2 main outs were Charlie Dixon and Jason Horne-Francis, right?
Yeah.
The rest were sort of their peripheral players, I guess.
Yeah.
If they'd have been in, do you think it would have been a different result? I don't think so.
Probably not. Would have made some difference.
I think we were more desperate on the day. We wanted it. They didn't.
Yeah. And look, maybe it was maybe they were quite happy to, make the bubble burst, because the bigger that bubble gets, the more pressure it ends up building. So 13 wins in a row was a pretty good going for Port Adelaide. We burst their bubble yesterday, and now they can get on with playing basically the match of the season next week at home against Collingwood. That's going to be first versus second on the ladder.
I want to put this up.
Excuse me.
You've given me your cough, Vince. Do you think Voss knew what he had in front of him and knew this
turnaround was coming? Sooner rather than later.
Do you know something? I think he knew it was coming, because he never deviated from. He always said, we know the plan, and all we need to do is execute the plan, and we're not executing it. So
it does make you wonder whether that gathering of the players at Ed Kerno's house down at Torquay might have, might have generated some, some heart-to-heart, honest discussion between some of these boys.
Yeah. Maybe they all drank the Kool-Aid, Vince.
Who knows?
Come to Jesus meeting.
Excuse me.
If people haven't noticed, Vince is under the weather. Not hungover, sick.
That's right. Actually, crook.
And I agree, Grant. Even with those other two players, the way we played, I don't think we were going to beat. Don't know about this, Wayne. Fan spray help. Maybe if you listen to some of the players.
Oh, that's after the Essendon game where some of the people, as they walked down the race, they gave them a bit of a spray.
Yeah, not sure, but anyway. Hey, now people are talking about the future. Will Carlton win? Who comes in? So before we get to that, let's go to our votes as we normally do. So Vince.
Yep.
Peter Brown picked 3.
Yes. Even though he's not with us, he still was good enough to send us his votes for the week.
Yeah, Jack Silvani 2, Patrick Cripps 1. I thought Silvani was our best player. I gave Silvani 3. That's for you, Lana. I gave Nick Newman 2. And I actually thought Tom De Koning, considering he hadn't played for 3 or 4 weeks, I thought he did a very good job. Special mention goes to probably Patrick Cripps. Sam Doherty was just his reliable, usual self. And De Koning, not De Koning, if Motlop had kept up his first half form, he probably would have got a vote. But I think he's just young. He's only 19, so that's okay. Vince?
Yep. Well, I had the same 3 as Brownie, except in a slightly different order. I went for Jack Silvani. I thought he was the most impacting player on the ground, especially early when the game was there to be won. I thought he played probably the best game I've seen him play for Carlton. Nick Newman, I gave 2 votes to. He's a rock of Gibraltar down there in defence. Very impressive. And Patrick Cripps, I gave 1 vote to, displaying some excellent leadership now. And he's shut up a lot of people in recent weeks.
So, Vince, that brings us to our leaderboard. No change.
Cherry didn't get any votes this week.
No, Adam Cherry still on top. Sam Walsh played his reliable game, no votes. Sam Doherty, same. Charlie Curnow, same. Nick Newman has rocketed to 5th place on 19. Harry McKay has slipped down. Patrick Cripps gone up 1. And then you got Akers. Jack Silvani's joined the top 10. And Lewis Young is on 9 votes.
Indeed.
So that's it. Normally at this time of the day, we have...
Beautiful kick from Brown. That's a magnificent kick. Look at that. He was inside the centre square when he kicked that for a goal.
So, Vince, I'm going to let you give the Brownie points because Peter spoke to you and you can explain why. And this week, the winner is...
Yes, the winner is Matthew Cottrell. And it's not the first time he's received Brownie points. I'm not sure. Look, I didn't speak to Brownie. He just simply sent me a text message giving me his 3-2-1 and his Brownie points recipient. He didn't go into an explanation as to why. Look, he didn't get a huge amount of the ball. 10 disposals, 7 kicks, 3 hand passes, 3 marks, laid 1 tackle and kicked 2 goals. And I'd say it's probably more to do with those 2 goals that he kicked than when he kicked them. They were vital goals at a vital time, and they really cemented our lead in that second quarter. And, I thought he played quite a good impacting game. Not that he got a stack of the ball, but when he did get involved, he certainly gave us some impact.
Okay. So, Vince, next week, Carlton versus the West Coast Eagles.
Yep. Saturday afternoon.
What's this? Saturday at 2 o'clock?
Oh, yeah, what? The traditional 2:10 p.m. start.
You can't have that.
Well, Joe, you know the only thing that's wrong with this game?
What's
they
that?
Need to transfer it over to Princes Park. Then we'll have the traditional 2:10 start at our traditional home. Now, look, it's at Marvel Stadium. What's that?
I want to stand on the press box wing.
Yes. Well, look, as you said earlier, we can't take any opponent for granted. And look, West Coast are playing a bit better. They are still volatile. Some matches they get towelled up. Other matches they really put up a bit of an effort. I remember 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I think they got within 8 points of St Kilda. But look, we beat them by over 100 points over there earlier this season. We get the bonus this year, if you like, of playing them twice. So, look, with our percentage, it'd be nice to have a big percentage boosting win. I'm expecting to win by at least 10 goals.
I hope so. So, Vince, changes to the game, to the team, I'm sorry.
Yep. Well, it'll be interesting to see whether Boyd gets suspended for his incident.
Harry
McKay's obviously going to be an omission from the team due to injury. So there's potentially 2 that we need to find replacements for. If we assume that Boyd's gone, the question is then who do we bring in for him? And that'll be interesting. Which backman do they bring in for Boyd in that back line? What do you think?
Well, who's that guy that they played earlier in the year?
Ideally, the replacement would be a guy called Zach Williams, but he's gone for the year, isn't he? I think we're going to have to settle for either putting Doherty back there, saying Boyd's gone, or we've got to bring in a guy from the reserves. Now, who are you going to bring in from the reserves in defence? You've got players that I don't think.
You got Cowan or Binns?
Potentially Cowan. I don't see Lockie Plowman getting another game this year, to be honest.
Apparently he's ripping it up in the reserves the last couple of weeks. But
he's obviously experienced. That's why.
I don't think it's a like for like.
I don't think there's a future in that. See, you can bring in Lockie Plowman, but what are you going to achieve? Is the question. It'd be interesting to see who do you think it should be? Our viewers out there, who do you think we should be bringing in? Lockie Cowan or someone else?
We're getting Cowan. What else? Yeah, David Buck is saying Cowan. Lou is saying they can try Lemmy.
He's a forward. Lemmy's a forward. He's a key position forward. And he's not really getting a lot of the ball. He's not playing well enough to be.
Binns.
Well, he's a midfielder. He's not a defender.
Young? I don't think
Young.
It's a lot.
Well, see, Young is the other ideal one that you could bring in for Boyd, but he's a lot taller than Boyd. Boyd's a smaller defender.
Chris is saying Marchbank.
Marchbank. Well, there's another potential replacement. Yeah. In fact, a lot of people thought when they saw Marchbank's name as one of the emergencies for this game against Port Adelaide that maybe, just maybe, he might be brought in because of McGovern's corky. But as it turns out, McGovern did play. Now, he's another one that you said might be out injured. Is that right?
Yeah, he might be out. Shane's got the answer. Shane's on the match committee. In Young, second ruck, and Jesus covers McKay up forward.
Yes.
To debut on the wing and move Doherty to the halfback. See, that's what I like, Shane.
Yeah.
Very punchy to the point.
Good on you, Shane.
I actually agree with all of that.
Yep.
I agree with all of it. Lana, no. I do not want to bring Ed in for his swan song. No. We did that. We're not going
to gift games.
No, we did that with Murphy. We're here to win. We are.
Do you see Ed Curnow getting another game in these last 6 weeks?
No. He's not the few. Look, I love Ed Curnow. He's been the heart and soul of our club for ages, right? But
so does he deserve one?
Well, I don't know how has he been playing in the reserves. When he's been in the seniors, I don't think he's actually set the house on fire. He's lost a lot of his pace.
The question is, does he deserve a send-off game, and can you get away with it this week against West Coast because they're struggling so much?
Yeah,
that's the question.
But you're sending the wrong message to the players.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just being the devil. I'm being devil's advocate, Joe.
Well, you can be the devil's advocate. You can't be sending the wrong message, right?
Okay.
If I haven't watched the reserve, so I don't know. Let's just say Binns, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're the same sort of player, right? Same position. So what you're telling Binns is, mate, he's got seniority, and even though you're playing better than him, you're not going to play. That's how the public service used to work 20, 30 years ago when I first started my career.
Yeah.
And it was a debacle because you'd get idiots as bosses who didn't know what they were doing, but he had more seniority. It's a professional game. We can't be. Well, Lana, why not retire? I think he should have. I don't think he should have gone on this year, to be honest. I actually think that he has done the club a disservice by going on this year. If you
taking a spot ahead of some young player.
If he wanted to, he should have just said, "I'll be." If you want to do the club thing, he could have said, "Hey, I'm happy to be the captain of the Carlton reserves and just not be on the list." Or they could have rookied him. But sorry, I'm being a bit harsh, but
I think what Voss and the coaching staff like about Ed Curnow is that they're confident what they're going to get from him. He's reliable, he's predictable, and I think they like that ahead of trying to play young players that they could perform, but then again they could also let you down quite badly. So it's almost like having a little bit of insurance there with Ed Curnow. If you happen to go into a game and you need a player that's got to play midfield or he's got to play a bit in defence or a bit up forward, he can be jack of all trades. I think that's why they kept him on the list. I'm speculating, of course, but that's my my opinion.
Yeah, I guess that's probably right too. But we made the same mistake with Murphy.
Yeah,
and I don't know how many games Ed has played.
Over 200.
Well, he's had his day in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with this. Maybe if we can't make the finals, give him a swan song. But even then, I'm a bit. I don't know. Lana agrees with you, Vince. He's just insurance. I wanted him to retire last year. Anyway.
All right. Well, let's move on from Ed Curnow.
So I'm going to assume that you're tipping Carlton.
Yes, comfortably.
And Peter is Carlton.
Yep.
Well, I can't actually. I'm really upset because if I'd have known there were 7 out, I would have tipped Carlton. But you and I tipped Port.
We did.
And Peter
so Peter
Carlton,
went ahead of us.
No, Peter's drawn it even with me.
What
and
am I
you're
going to
2
do
behind.
here? Well, I can't tip West Coast to try and catch up. All that'll happen is I'll get 3 behind. But in that last 5 weeks, I'm going to have to try and defy the odds.
Lou, the Oracle,
125 points. Wow.
Hope so.
I don't see it being a 100-point result myself. 60. I think it'll be more like 10 goals. Yeah.
Carlton by a country mile.
Can I ask you a question? How far is a country mile compared to a normal mile?
You'd have to ask someone from the country.
I've got a feeling it might be a little bit longer.
Sandra doesn't care as long as we win. I agree. 1 point, 100 points. Darren just picked Carlton for the rest of the season. Actually, next week will be an interesting show because Peter will be back. And we might spend a lot of time about Collingwood, the Carlton Collingwood.
Yes, because the following game is on a Friday night at the MCG against Collingwood. It's their home game. And
do you know,
tell you what, it's going to be an absolute blockbuster and a half the way we're going and the way they're going.
Yeah, I guess.
It'll be a shut the gate affair, that's for sure.
You know, as people know, I live here in Bangkok and I have to pay to listen to SEN. I don't know why, but I do because they talk about football. Oh, hang on. What's this? Not liking the negativity of Bangkok Joe. Leave it alone. I'm not being negative, Trex. I'm just saying I don't. If he was ripping it up in the reserves, I'd play him. Right? He'd be the first person I'd play, but he's not, and that's the problem. No. So I'm not being negative, Trex, but you're entitled to your opinion if you think I am. Vince, we have an answer for you.
Righto.
A country mile is about 2.5 times longer than a city mile, obviously, Vince. All right?
Thank you, Lana. So a city mile is, as far as I was
mile?
aware, about 1,600 metres. So
Yeah. Anyway.
so obviously it's about what does that make it? Probably about
2.5 miles.
4,000 metres.
Well,
Anyway.
it makes it just a little bit longer than the Melbourne Cup, doesn't it?
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, about 4,000.
4,000.
Now, I listen to SEN, and I am sick to death of all this. Oh, isn't Craig McRae great? Oh, you've got to love his style of football. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to put it on the line. As a Carlton supporter, I effing hate Collingwood, closely followed by Essendon, right? Now, and you can probably throw Richmond in the mix too, because you've got Essendon scum, you've got the filth, and then you've got the junkies, right?
Yep. We'll talk about forever rivals a bit later.
I know Andy Marr is a bloody TV or radio journalist. If he ever gets a question out, he's like, and then just repeats himself. But if he says, "Oh, I love Craig McRae" one more time, then you can go and effing join the Collingwood effing supporters, because I don't effing want you, right? You only have one team. There is no, "Oh, my second club is." No, one club. You stick with that club. All these people, "Oh, when I was young, I barracked for Geelong, but now I barrack for Richmond." No, you stick with them through thick and thin. And I hate Collingwood. And I don't ever the words good and Collingwood will never come out of my mouth in the same sentence unless it is Collingwood lost, that's good, right? Hey, what's DC? Doesn't all Carlton fans hate in order Collingwood then Essendon? Yeah, I don't know. Some of my friends hate Essendon then Collingwood. Sandra, no, I don't love their style of play. They've had nothing go wrong for them, right? Other than Jordan De Goey and his barley tree. They haven't had any serious injuries. Other than their netball team, which they let bloody defunct.
Well, Joe, you don't win premierships in March or April or May or June or July. You only win them in September. So, as they found out last year, they had a fantastic run, but in the finals, they fell short.
They lost.
It's a whole new ball game.
Been more
it's a whole
happier.
new ball game. Yep.
And do you know what makes it even? You know what made me even more happy? When Dom Sheed kicked that goal in the grand final to sink him. That guy on the boundary line. If I was Dom Sheed, I would have ran over and given him a mouthful, right?
Yeah.
And I want to bring back the collie wobbles. I don't want them to win anything ever. I'm happy for even Essendon. I want Essendon to make the finals. You know why? Because I want them to lose in the first week, because then that'll be nearly 6,000 days that they haven't won a final. Even we've won a final before them. And when was the last time we were in the finals?
2013. We won 2013. We won one against Richmond. Yeah, we won one against Richmond.
When we got
it's coming up 10 years in September since that happened.
Well, this year is going to be different. We're going to I know we're taking it 1 week at a time, but we will win a final before Essendon. And I hope Collingwood, I hope they get through to the grand final and then get flogged by 100 points or lose by a point after the siren, right?
Yep.
I cannot tell you how much. My friend used to make a badge, and he had ABC. Anyone but Collingwood. And I don't care if they're due for a loss. I don't care. Anyway, so
I think it'll be a fantastic game this coming Saturday night when they have to travel over to Adelaide and play Port on their home ground, and that's going to be second versus first on Port Adelaide's home turf. So that's going to be an absolute rip snorter of a match.
How many people at that game will have their front teeth? About 2. But I hope they don't count parole officers as paying entrance, because then that'll make the crowd 90,000.
Very funny.
No, it's not really. Anyway, so all three of us have gone for Carlton.
Yep.
Just
certainly have.
to remind people, the game next Saturday night. It's at Marvel Stadium.
Saturday
afternoon. Sorry, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
It's a reasonable time for me. That we're 3 hours behind, so I'll be eating my lunch.
It'll be 11 o'clock in the morning when the game starts over your way.
Yeah,
it'll finish at just before 5 o'clock here local time.
Yeah. So look, I feel sorry for the Eagles. I mean, well, I don't really. Fuck them. If you're not where didn't Stephen? Was it Stephen Kernahan or Jack Elliott? Where Carlton F the rest?
Yeah.
The rest.
Stephen Kernahan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I happened to see Sticks Kernahan last night, actually, after the game. Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, so that's enough of the football. Now it's time for a bit of frivolity. It's time for Vince.
Aren't we going well?
How did we
go last week, Joe?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Vince. But before we do that, Trex, I agree with you. Ha ha. F them all. If they're not Carlton. Actually, just going back to Collingwood, I like this because I saw a stat from the 17 games the Pies have played. They've only played 7 games against teams currently in the 8 and have lost 2 of them. So anyway, stuff them. Vince, you are failing badly.
Well, we tipped the horse that we thought resembled our Captain Patrick Cripps. It was the pole marker. It was the second favourite in the race. If you see there.
And where did it come?
Where did it finish?
7th.
7th out of 9. Second favourite, wasn't it? What were the starting odds? $4.60 or something, wasn't it?
Vince, DC, I agree with DC. You need a win.
I do need a win.
So this week,
so we've lost there, but we think we've got another one this week that might just do the trick. And seeing we've been winning, four in a row now. I think it's time to start dreaming, Joe. We mentioned this earlier in the show. Wish upon a star.
You've sent Nathan broke.
Is it Wish Upon a Star? No, I think it's called Wish Upon a Dream, isn't it?
Oh, sorry, that's my mistake. Sorry, I was thinking.
Let's not give people the wrong.
Wish Upon a Star. No,
yeah.
Johnny
Wish Upon a Dream.
Agree. You'd be better off throwing darts at a board, Vince. So yeah, sorry about that. Wish Upon a Dream. Yeah. But it is no. Oh, hang on. It is number 9, so that's one thing that I can get right.
Yeah, in race 5 at Chuka Harness on Tuesday night.
Yeah, so race 9.
And this is a standing start. This is a standing start race. So this particular horse, which is in good form, is coming off a 20-metre handicap compared to some of the horses on the front line. But Vince, those horses aren't as good. So hopefully,
can you hear the protest? Right. Can you hear the protest siren? Johnny's got a good point. Look at number 1.
Lady Lil. After Lily of Laguna. Yeah, no.
Can you
if you want to put a little place bet on that one, Johnny Holden, that's fine. But the one I really like is number 9, Wish Upon a Star. Wish Upon a Dream, I should say.
Yeah, Wayne's right. I would lose my house if I took Vince's advice. Look at this. You're down to 50. What are you having on Wish Upon a Dream, Vince?
$10 for the win, Joe.
You know, if we lose, that leaves us down to $5, don't you?
Well, what can you do? You can only give it your best. It's not easy to find horses with a name that sort of means anything to us. But anyway.
No, I know.
This one here's got a reasonable chance, I think.
Johnny doesn't. He says he never even bets.
Well, as Mick Malloy would say, go hard or go home.
What's this?
Bet big.
What's this one? Race number 5, number 9, Judd Hunter. Was that there?
Judd Hunter. Yeah, where's this?
I don't know. Judd Hunter. Where's that, Darren? You'll have to tell us.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think it's that. It's not that race. Race 5, number 9 is the one I tipped you.
Yeah. Hey,
Anyway.
Vince, that's the end of the show nearly.
It
See
is.
what happens when we don't have Pete?
We lasted.
No, well, that's okay.
Oh, well, that's okay. We can have a slightly shorter show this week.
It's okay.
I'm doing it tough here, but we've lasted.
Vince?
What's this? Have you tried asking Mr.
Ed?
Hello, I'm Mr. Ed.
This is a better bet. We should have backed the Blues to make the finals 5 weeks ago.
Well, yeah. Imagine
we've been slashed. We've been slashed.
Yes, into $26.
Yeah, I don't know. We're correct. Race 5, number 9, but where, Darren? Because race 5, number 9 in ours is
Wish Upon a Dream.
Wish Upon a Dream. Yeah. So anyway, hey Vince.
Yes, mate.
As you know, we've really enjoyed having all these comments.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We really appreciate it.
Now, before we go, and I mention everything, as you know, we're proudly on the Jumper Punch channel.
Yep.
And every Wednesday night at 8 p.m, they have Legends of the Jumper Punch.
Certainly do.
And ladies and gentlemen, Rocco has just dropped in the latest promo.
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you who want to know who's on, let me show you.
Hi, this is Fraser Murphy from the 1987 Premiership. I'd like you to watch the Jumper Punch every Tuesday night and just remember their old days. Thank you.
How good was Fraser? A little Smurf. I tell you what, he was a great little player. If you ever get a chance to go on YouTube and look up some of the highlights of our past players on the Spirit of Carlton YouTube page, you'll see lots and lots of fantastic highlights. And Fraser Murphy kicked some amazing goals, and he wasn't blessed with a lot of height, but gee, I tell you what, was he a goer? And he eventually got rewarded with a premiership medal around his neck in 1987.
I remember watching him play at Port Melbourne in the I think it was Channel
he didn't play with Port Melbourne. He played against Port Melbourne. He played for Geelong West.
Geelong West, yeah, that's right. Sorry,
yeah.
I remember
they had the red and white. They had the red and white colours.
Yeah, and with Phil Gibbs and was Channel O, which later went to Channel 10. And they had a fantastic. He played next to a fantastic full forward called Joe Radojevic.
Yes,
never. He'd always kick 100 goals, but never got into the. He never got into the AFL. Anyway,
well, Fraser Murphy actually came second, and not by much either. Came second to Billy Swan in the Liston Trophy, which is basically like the Brownlow Medal of the VFA back then. So he was the second best player in the competition in 1983. And they played in the grand final as well, Geelong West, against Preston, the Preston Bull Ants back then. And Preston just knocked them over. So, yeah. But then he came over to Carlton in 1984 and had 8 fantastic years at Carlton.
Yeah. Hey, Vince, before we do our final farewells, I showed the meme of the week and I said that I was going to have a funny photo of the week.
That's right.
Now, living here in Thailand, you see some very funny plays on English, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously English is their second language, and a lot of the times, there's a thing called Google Translate, and it's not always 100% accurate. But you always get someone in a shop who thinks that they know more than someone else. And I was walking past the shop today, and I saw this sign. Otamachi, Thailand. It's a massage shop. Now people are thinking, what's so funny about that photo? I took a close up of the actual sign, and look what it says: It's a Mabius group sexual harassment massage.
What? What does that mean?
I have no idea, and my girlfriend wouldn't let me go in to find out. I think they're trying to
That
say
is bizarre.
sexual healing.
That is bizarre.
So, actually, I'm going to, and it's in Chinese too. So I think it's aimed at the Chinese people. So I don't know. Mebius Group is obviously the name of it. Otamachi is a Japanese, but I'm going to make it my my mission this week, Vince, to go in there and find out what they actually mean.
Okay.
So please, I'll report back next week what they're trying to say.
I was just going to say, Joe, report back, and maybe if you can get some images or photos or video, that'd be great too. Dynamic
says that sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Peter the Blue Bag, if you go in, you'll get cut. Sandra
probably
says medical sexual massage. I don't know. Inappropriate endings, yes. Lana, I'm always careful. Maybe I should let my girlfriend go in and ask what it means. And yeah, I
think that's very good advice. Very good advice.
Okay, so we'd like to thank everyone for watching the show. Hope you enjoyed it. Didn't hear from Adam, who said that I was a goose. So obviously he might have left, but you know, I might write to Adam and see whether he wants to come on, because he obviously knows what he's doing and I don't. So that's fair enough.
What about our shows, Joe? Our shows coming up.
Yeah, I'm just about to go through them. I just doing a great job as per usual. Looking forward to next week. Yeah, DC. So don't forget, Tuesday night, 7:00 on the Blue Abroad panel, on the Blue Abroad channel, you have the jumper punch. Jeez, I can't speak. We've got Rocco, and I don't know who's going to be on with him. Last week
I don't either. He's kept it very, very quiet this week. He's kept his cards very close to his chest on this one. So I don't know who he's going to be on there with, but it'll certainly be worth tuning in to find out.
Yeah, and then Wednesday at 7:00, we've got the Forever Rivals with the Manny, Quinn,
and
Mark, and Rocco.
Yep. So and by the way, happy 50th birthday to Mark. He had his big party on Saturday night, and I believe all of the boys were there, Rocco and Quinn and Manny as well. So hope he enjoyed himself. And I hope more than anything, Joe, you would probably suggest that he must have had a fantastic night watching Essendon get smacked by Geelong at the same time.
Me?
Mark. No, Mark.
Oh, yeah. Happy
Mark had
50th.
his 50th. Yeah, exactly.
Happy 50th, yeah. Great. So then you got, after that, the promo I showed you, the Legends of the Jumper Punch.
Yeah. Fraser
8
Murphy.
p.m. with Fraser Murphy.
Yeah.
Should be very interesting.
Oh, he's got some great stories for us, I'm telling you.
Yeah,
some really good stories.
And then we've got some little show next Sunday at 8:00 called Blue Sunday with the Goose and Vince. Yeah. So, and
Peter Brown.
And Peter Brown will be with us next week. So just going through those again. Yeah. Tuesday night, 7 p.m, Jumper Punch on the Blue Abroad channel. Then on Wednesday night on the Jumper Punch channel, which is this one here, you've got Forever Rivals and you've got Legends of the Jumper Punch featuring Fraser Murphy. And Sunday night, you've got yours truly and Mr. Vince Loccisano doing Blue Abroad. Don't forget, people.
No, doing
tell
Blue
your family,
Sunday,
tell your friends, like and subscribe. It helps. Growing our channel helps us immensely, and we're more than happy to take comments, criticisms. If there's something that you want us to add or something you want us to take off, please let us know. And also, don't forget, the show's proudly brought to you by my company, Retired Working for You Tours. We do everything Thailand. So, on behalf of Mr. Vince Loccisano and myself, I'd like to thank everyone for tonight. And I'd like to wish you a fond farewell. And on 3, Vince, 1, 2, 3.
Go Blues.
Go Blues. And I'll leave you with...
send up, we'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous Old Dark Blues.